Andrew's career. So we have a really great group of alums and colleagues who are on deck to give a series of toasts to Marcia. She departs St. Andrews after 20 years. So toasters, I'm going to call on you to unmute yourself when it becomes your turn. Everyone else, just use the chat and the reaction buttons to chime in, just so that we can make sure that Marcia and everyone hears all of the wonderful things that will be said tonight. So at the end of each toast, feel free to raise a glass to Marcia with the beverage of your choice. We'll be doing a lot of tasting tonight, or toasting tonight, so pace yourselves. But before I turn it over to the toasters, we have a surprise that Marcia has prepared something for all of you. So I am going to leave it to you, Marcia.
Thank you, Julia, and thank you again, everyone, for coming. I just couldn't take the opportunity to have a captive audience for one last time and not talk to you a little bit about art. And so I decided to really quickly, and so this is not going to be polished, and I know you'll forgive me for that. I wanted to talk to you just for a couple of minutes about what I have learned from art, okay? Some lessons that I have learned from studying art for so many decades. So let me share a screen. Let me share my screen, and let's see how this goes, okay? All right, as soon as I'm into slide showing mode. The thing that I think is so amazing about studying art is that when we look at creations, visual creations by people all across time and all around the world, it's the commonalities that we have as human beings that keeps coming up over and over and over. And so these are the things that fascinate me and that I really love being able to share with my students. So I just hit on a few things that I think that art really has helped me with over my life. And so the first thing that is always clear in studying art is that, in order for us to move forward in the world, we have to have leaders. We have to have people who have the courage and the vision in order to be able to make things better and to solve problems and so forth. And so when these leaders step forward, they bring us inspiration, and they bring us a plan, they bring us action. And all of that is absolutely wonderful. And we follow those people, and we're proud to be under their leadership. At the same time, one of the things that we have to realize is that when we follow, what we are also doing is we are giving up some of our own power to those leaders. And so one of the things that we learn from studying art history is that we have to be mindful, we have to pay attention to what are the motives for these people who want us to follow them. What are the motives that they have in order to get us to surrender some of our power to them? We have to be watchful because we can be manipulated into believing things and saying things and voting and buying and so forth that maybe we weren't aware that they wanted us to do. And so this conundrum of wanting and needing leaders at the same time that we have to be cautious and mindful of choosing our leaders is one of the things that comes up in art all through time and all around the world. Another thing that I think is fascinating that I've learned from art is that the standards of physical beauty that we are subject to even now are things that emerged very, very, very early. But what's really cool about these is that these early standards of beauty that we see in ancient Egypt and with Polykleitos, and I won't sing the song, is these ideal bodies were not meant to be a blueprint of what people's actual bodies look like. Instead, they symbolized things about leadership or about the good of the nation, or they symbolized things about the interior qualities of the person. And so if we remember that what they really looked like was more like this, then maybe we won't feel so much pressure to buy in to the standards of beauty that can be really pretty damaging in our own time. Another thing that we think about when we think about art is we all have the issue of having to figure out what we want to do with our lives. And so if we're lucky, then what we do is we find something that really makes us happy, even if nobody else gets it. If we can just stick with it, then sometimes the rest of the world catches up. And another thing is we have to figure out whom we want to spend our lives with. Well, this also is a universal, and we see it over and over and over and over. And maybe sometimes the person we choose is a person who maybe there would be divine approval for. Other times, well, maybe not so much. But the point is, we have to keep our heads above water and follow our own hearts in order to find real happiness. Another thing that I think is fascinating with art is that it really teaches us a lot about how to take care of ourselves. There are a lot of times in our lives when we feel kind of like this, right? Where we're feeling kind of the jagged edges, and we're sitting down to dinner and oh my goodness, the world is falling apart all around us. And so when that happens, what sometimes makes a difference when we're feeling overwhelmed and complicated is if we can somehow or other, like Brancusi and Henry Moore that we're looking at right here, if we can find a way to strip away all the unnecessary detail and get it down, just keep stripping away until we can get down to that ultimate essence, to the things that really matter, then that makes things so much easier. Another issue that relates to self-care is when we allow ourselves, and this has obviously happened all through life, all through time, when we allow ourselves to be consumed by our work. And when we become consumed by our work, then there comes a time when we must stop and take care of ourselves. We see that with the play of children. We see it with running through the beach, where this is what is going to make us feel better. We see it with the swing, where we get out and we okay, maybe it's a little bit naughty and we better watch about being too naughty because somebody's going to come along and look what they're going to do. They're going to take our heads off, right? But little bit naughty is okay, all right? So then there's also this urge to make music. And when we have music, of course, that leads to this universal human impulse where we want to dance. And we dance, 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 and we dance some more, don't we? It's just awesome, isn't it? And sometimes if we're really, really good, we can even get our pets to dance. Wow. Other things that we can do for self-care when we're feeling overburdened is go to the park, take a walk in the park and listen to the hurdy-gurdy and to the waves lapping onto the shore. Even better, and take a hike out in the wilderness of Ghost Ranch. The next lesson that I think is so critical for all of us is one that I think is so beautifully and powerfully told in Rembrandt's Return of the Prodigal Son, where we see that forgiveness is something that is proffered even before it is asked for, and that forgiveness is a gift that gives in both directions. It's a gift to the person that needs forgiveness, but it may be even more a gift for the person who is offering that forgiveness. This is something that has had a profound effect on my life, is learning that difficult lesson. Art also helps us to deal with all of these things that we face: pain and fear and heartache, difficult choices and loneliness. When we find ourselves facing these things, dealing with grief, dealing with fear, one of the things that can happen is that if we have fortitude of spirit, what can happen is that amazingly positive things and bursts of energy and insight can come from that pain, as we see here. Other things that art teaches us is we are frequently going to have difficult choices that we have to make. Am I going to go here? Am I going to go here? Am I going to go here? And what if I make the wrong decision? And we see that over and over and over, the choices that are ahead of us that sometimes keep us awake at night. But on the other hand, one of the things that will sometimes help with making those decisions is if we can simply allow ourselves to go to sleep and sleep on it. And it's amazing the clarity that that can provide. Other issues, loneliness, so that we sometimes learn that we have to be our own friend. We have to be our own best friend in this kind of situation until we find that other person who is standing in the wings that we hadn't noticed. In spite of all that, there are still times when we feel like this. And so when we get to this, one of the things that art teaches us is that just when it seems like we're about to be completely overwhelmed, that there are people in the boat with us, and that if we can just keep rowing, then maybe we can pull out of it together. Also, in those times, if we can just manage to find some quiet time and space, or we can just allow ourselves to be and to think and to be still and to meditate, to look inward, then insight can bloom if we are simply patient and waiting for it. If we allow ourselves the time to think, then what that enables us to do is to use what we know to deal with what we don't know. Another thing that seems terribly important in today's time is figuring out how to mend the rift. How do we heal our world? How do we heal our divisions when people seem at times so rigid and so brittle, and there seems to be such a dividing line between us? And so what art tells us is that there is always more than one story. There's more than one side to every story, and we just have to keep asking and listening so that we can find that other side of the story. There is more than one perspective. When you look at this, some of you will see a young woman, others of you will see an old woman. And yet we're looking at the same thing. So it simply depends on our perspective. And so if we can be patient if we can acknowledge the gap and recognize the gap, then maybe we can reach across the aisle and come to some sort of common understanding. One other last thing for me that has been very powerful, that has been helpful in the study of art, is learning to let go. And this is, of course, very timely for me. And so I look at this painting, this beloved painting that I have taught so many times. And, you know, I see this in my own context right now. It's like the life that has come before, the life that I've tamed already, and the life that is still ahead, that is full of wilderness and possibility and potential. And yes, it's a little scary. And yet, I know that while it's bittersweet, that I'm moving from this area of comfort into this unknown, that it's really and truly going to be okay. And I have to remember that it's not about me, that really and truly it's about letting go and allowing the cycles of the universe to continue, trusting that they are what they are, and remembering, and I quote Julian of Norwich, the Christian mystic from the 15th century, who said something that I think is so beautiful. As she said, all shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. Thank you for listening to that. That was fun for me to do.
Marcia, thank you so much. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
I'd hate to have to follow that, but Matt Kelly, you are on deck, and I'm going to go ahead and paste in the chat the order of our toasts tonight. So just if you are making a toast, please just look at where your name falls. All right, Matt Kelly, the floor is yours.
Marcia, thank you so much. It's amazing to see these people here and to hear that, Marcia. And, you know, I wasn't that far away from an art history degree when I worked with Marcia like 25 years ago, and sat in on her class and went, hey, wait, my art history professors weren't this good. And hi, Hazel Kalina and Andy and all the people from that who remember that generation. It was like traumatically embarrassing for me to have to follow that. I wrote a poem for Marcia, and there's a reason I'm not a published poet, friends. But it's just a small sign of my affection for Marcia. So can I screen share? Can you screen share? Give me the right to screen share.
You're good to
I think
go.
if we, okay, good.
Twould be nice. I am overwhelmed by your faces right now. I'm literally shaking seeing you people. It's such a great experience. Andy Campbell, my goodness, yeah. I want to name all of you, just like Marcia just did. Oh, it looks like I can do it now. Okay, good. So just a short poem, and who knows where I'm going with this. I have a tragic metaphor in the first line, a row, but here goes. The professor speaks, or there's the magic. For Marcia with eternal admiration. The professor speaks. Know what you see, dear Roe. See now and know. But know what you see is more than what you know. And to know how to see is but to learn how to try. And to learn how to try, well, there's the magic. The net is wide. The fish is many. But you, the student interrupts. I now know that to see is to learn, to try to know. The professor smiles. Swim, she says patiently, but note the net. The professor continues. Let's move ahead. We know because we see. To see is to know. But please always sidle that which you see up against that which you might just think you know. To know is how to see, is to learn how to try, and to learn how to try. Ah, yes, you remember. The professor concludes. The nets are wide, the fishes many, but slippery you, please learn to escape them. The student responds, I now know that to see is to learn how to try, and to learn how to try. Professor and student in unison, there's the magic. The professor smiles. Swim through the net, she says approvingly.
Matt, that is unbelievable. That is so cool. Nobody has ever written a poem for me. Do you know that? Thank you. I love it. That is a wonderful, wonderful gift. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, Alita, you're on deck.
Hello, hi everyone. Hi, Mr. Kelly. That was amazing. Wow, I'm also shaking because 83 people here, and most people have their cameras on. Like this never happens in a Zoom class. Wow. Just okay. So from the very first class of sophomore history, Miss Russell, you helped us let loose with your chant of your name, RUSSELL. And as the year went on, we learned a host of other like call and response chants, like the Monet likes nature, Degas likes the dancers. And then the, he's got such perfect proportions for the polykleitos. And just your classroom became such a safe haven. It was truly a space without judgment and where I truly felt heard. I remember every day I would count down the periods during the day to where I would have like either sophomore history or AP art history with you. And as you showed the different works of art in class, like slide after slide in a dark lit room, I was transported to different time periods and places across the world. And I still remember in AP art history, you gave me the encouragement when I presented the Oxbow as our first series of solo presentations in class. And through these teaching opportunities, I found the joy in teaching, of really capturing an audience in the classroom. So much so that I am even more inspired now to become an educator in the future, whether as like a professor or in other avenues. And I also really appreciate your unique classroom method where you would shuffle the seats every day, because I don't know about y'all, but like in other classes, we would have like unspoken assigned seats. So your method was really unique, and then having the partner discussions and it was just so innovative that I plan to emulate that if I become an educator. Okay, I guess, yeah, there was also when, okay, I'm gonna be a little vulnerable here. I would come crying to you about how much I was struggling with writing the essays at the end of each exam. And you showed me infinite patience and you allowed me to rewrite them until I truly grasped the skill. And any other teacher would have just given me a lower grade for writing an unorganized essay, but you didn't give up on me. And that's what really mattered. And it's kind of like what Mr. Kelly just said, like you learn to try. And I really got the opportunity from that. Oh my gosh, and the art trips, the legendary art trips too. I think the Kimball and the MFA. And now whenever I visit a new city, my first stop is always the local art museum. And if you're in the APA 2017 to 2018 group me, you'll see that I always post new pictures, like even I think as recently as like before COVID. It's been a few years since I've been to St. Andrews, but we still keep in touch through the group me, and I love seeing your new videos on YouTube. If you haven't checked out Miss Russell's YouTube video, please check it out. She goes over all the old material. Oh, also, Miss Russell, please post the chants, like all the chants on your YouTube channel if you haven't already, because I would love
Okay.
to sing along.
I will. I'll do that. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Alita.
Yeah, it's just you taught for 20 years and I'm 20 years old, so it's like you've literally taught for as long as I've lived. And it's amazing, and you truly deserve the best, our queen.
Alita, that's just the past 20 years. I taught almost 20 years before that. It was actually 37 years. Thank you so much, Alita.
All right, Lily.
Yeah. I just really wanted a chance to say how much I love and miss you and your class. I think Alita covered a lot of like the specifics about your class, but I just wanted you to know, in case you didn't already, you are an incredible teacher. I already loved art, but I think Mr. Kelly's poem like seriously explained what your class was like, because you showed me so much more than what I saw and already knew. And I really appreciate it. And I think about your class all the time. Any painting or art piece that you taught us about, I remember as if it was yesterday that you taught us about it. And I think like I'm always shocked by how much I remember. And I think that's just such a testament to how effective your teaching is. So thank you, Miss Russell.
Lily, thank you so much. That means the world to me. That thrills me. that things that that came up in our class are still meaningful for you. Thank you.
Hey, Robbie, you're up next.
Hi, everyone. Hi. My name
Robbie.
is Robbie. I'm calling in from Berkeley, California. And for those of you who don't know me, I am the exchange student, the Chinese exchange student who spent a year at SAS between 2014 and 2015. Then I was 17 in a new country, speaking a new language. And looking back, that year I spent at St. Andrews was one of the most formative years of my life thus far. And a big part of that has to do with Marcia, the one and only, our queen. As a new student, I heard about Marcia within the first week. Everyone told me I should go take a class with Miss Russell. So I did. And as a result, I got to witness greatness in action. Marcia commands the classroom, gripping everyone's attention with her extensive knowledge and effusive passion about art history. And within weeks, it became crystal clear to me that Marcia is one of the best teachers I'll ever meet in my life. But Marcia is much, much more than just a teacher. She teaches life lessons, which we very fortunately got a chance to have a glimpse of together for one last time. But to me, however, she is a role model, someone I look up to and find inspiration in. A couple months into my year of exchange, I came across the video of Marcia and Rick talking about living with authenticity as part of the LGBT community. And to see someone I identify with be so respected and loved by the St. Andrews community is like seeing light with an open heart and letting that light inside a very dark place for the first time. Through example, Marcia has taught me how to be self-assured and secure about who they are while being humble and always considerate to others. But perhaps most importantly, Marcia sparked that initial realization that it's okay to be exactly who I am and to do so without compromise and apology. And for that, Marcia, I will forever be grateful. So let's raise a glass to our queen. Yes, queen.
Thank you, Robbie. That was beautiful. Thank you.
Annika, are you next?
Hi, yeah, I'm here. Sorry, I'm like already about to cry before I even started talking. So I just wanted to say I'm generally not a toast giver, but I had to do it for Miss Russell. I don't know like how to express my gratitude for you, and what a privilege and what a joy it was to be in your class. Sorry, I'm like really emotional. But I like, you know, was an art history major because of you. And beyond just like studying art history, like Robbie was saying, I really like feel like you taught us all like how to be a person. And I just like, I'm so grateful for that. And even I'm also grateful for just how much your enthusiasm and passion is contagious. And how, like, for example, if you took AP Art History, once the new curriculum was in place, one of the works on the image set was Dancing at the Louvre by Faith Ringgold. And I remember learning about this in Ms. Russell's class and just being so amazed and hearing you talk about how amazing it would be to dance at the Louvre and just telling us the story of Faith Ringgold. And I was just like, oh my God, this is an amazing work of art. I really hope I get to see it someday. And then what ended up happening was I went to college, started working at the art gallery my freshman year, and the job I had was in like handling the art. And one day I went down into the basement and laying on the table was Dancing at the Louvre.
Wow.
And I just lost my mind. I was so happy and so excited. And everyone else was like, oh yeah, it's an amazing work of art. But I was just like, no, Mr. Russell like just made it like come alive. And I was just like, I get to like touch this quilt and like roll it up and put it in storage. And it was one of the most like profound experiences of my life, because you taught me about it. And so I just want to say thank you. I really appreciate everything, all the time that I got to spend in your class. Thank you for being so inspiring and so supportive. You have just made such a difference to so many people.
Thank you so much, Annika.
Maria, you're up next.
I'm going to keep it short because I'm horrible at goodbyes, but I had to say something. I think I can just start by saying that we love you. We can all agree that you were an amazing teacher. You had that sort of presence that made each one of us excited to go to class and learn. Besides that, you also made us discover a deeper appreciation for art that went beyond the surface. I don't know if you realize like the impact you had on students in the classroom, but also outside the classroom. Sometimes I would be having a bad day and I would be like, okay, I'm gonna go say hi to Ms. Russell. And I would show up to your classroom unannounced, hang out with you and Sky, and always Sky. Sky was always there. And my day got better. So yeah, I'm just gonna finish by saying that I'm forever grateful to have had the opportunity to be your student and thankful that, oh my God, I'm crying. Thankful that our paths crossed. Sorry, guys.
Thank you, Maria.
Will, you're up next.
Ms. Russell, congratulations.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm great. I'm so happy to see you, Willie.
Yeah, you too. Congratulations on a successful and long-lasting career.
Thank you.
I'm gonna keep it short and hopefully sweet, but I wanted to say that your teaching and my time at St. Andrews, learning from you and being in your class was invaluable and has left a permanent impression on me and the way that I think and see the world. The analysis that we did in your class and the ways that we looked at artwork, a lot of the same themes from your presentation earlier about finding connection, connections between, various cultures with various ideas, and at a lot of times, clashing times throughout history. That tool has been applicable to me in so many different encounters and experiences in my life since leaving St. Andrews. And so I'm grateful for your teaching and grateful for the care that you had for your students. And best wishes to a restful and happy retirement.
Thank you, Willie. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Quinn, you're up next.
Hey, Ms. Russell, long time no see.
Hi, Quinn.
So to avoid rambling, I wrote like an entire thing and I have it on another monitor right now. So here we go. Having two older siblings at St. Andrews, I was often warned about the teachers I would encounter in the years to come. Although my brother and sister's recommendations differed on which teachers to look forward to and which teachers to prepare for, they both agreed on one teacher in particular being especially life-changing, and that's you. When I first met you, I knew that they were right. Every day, I look forward to being in your class. When I stepped into your blacked out room from the heat outside and had to wait for my eyes to adjust for a second and be like, is there anybody in here? Okay, this is the right time. It made me feel like, and this is something other people said, it made me feel like I was somewhere else for a while. I didn't have to worry about the physics homework that I definitely didn't do, that Mr. Wick was gonna pick up. I didn't have to worry about football or anything else. Instead, I just got to sit in a nice, cold, blacked out, air-conditioned room and learn about the history of the world through its art. To my knowledge, you're the only teacher that has an AP course that requires an application process.
Not anymore. That happened. That ended a long time ago.
These kids don't even know. They don't even know the pressure. I remember that I went to lunch to write my admissions essay, and this was, I think I took it senior year, so this is my junior year. And for a moment, I was more stressed out by that than actually applying to college.
Which is why I don't do it anymore.
I wanted to be in the class so bad because neither Connor or Lily got into the class, and I was like, I have to do it. Like, from the family, they have to know. Everybody and their mom applied for it. I mean, like, honestly, my mom, like, whenever I mention you, she's like, oh, I wish I could have been in that class too. So like, she would have applied to the class. So I felt very lucky to be accepted. Were it not for you, I wouldn't really know how to pick out an impressionist work from across the room. I wouldn't know that women in Indian art have great personalities. I wouldn't know the Greek alphabet, which was actually quite useful studying math. I already knew the Greek alphabet, the people didn't. I wouldn't know to put my face right next to the Jackson Pollocks to view them properly. I wouldn't know the word isocephalic. I wouldn't know that Caravaggio was a little baddie and he killed a dude over a tennis match. There's all these stories that are just lost if you just walk through a museum and look at the plaque and read the artists and the medium for a second, you don't know this. And you infused every piece of art that we studied with so much life. Most people think of art museums as just dusty collections of paintings and sculptures, but I guarantee you that every single person you taught, and especially every person who turned out here for you tonight, explores art museums with a sense of wonder and comfort. And we don't feel lost, even if we don't, we can't possibly recognize every piece of art that's in there, but we know how to be with art. We know how to appreciate art, to explain art, to even some of us create art, maybe not me, but some of you other ones out here. I remember you told us specifically that you didn't want us to sit around memorizing dates or hundreds of pieces of art, but that we should learn how to understand the entire thing as a whole. And my siblings and I, we talked about it so much at home that even my parents, they're into art now. They go to all the museums when they travel. They have art at home, not just the wallpaper anymore, it's actual art. And your influence is so contagious. I know so many people here, we've all heard of you before we even got to school. I know that when I decided to become a teacher, oh yeah, P.S., I'm a teacher now. Should have mentioned that. When I decided to become a teacher, I like to think of my teaching style as a mix between all of my favorite teachers. So among them, I'm thinking Mr. Hagan, Mr. Longo, Mr. Pomeroy. I've literally done that thing where he teaches the first day in French. I did it. Ms. Burkhead, she's like obnoxiously into math to the point where you have to be into math. Mr. Works, Mr. Latre, Ms. Kemner Reed, who's here, the Packwoods, and of course, our queen, Yo. I'm eternally grateful that I could be your student and learn so much more from you than just art history. You taught me and everyone else here empathy and kindness in a way that I can hardly express. I remember that Lily, who's also here, Lily used to live in Washington, D.C. And sometimes when she would visit, she would be at work or something. And so she tossed me an extra Metro pass and say, why don't you go get lost at the museum for a few hours? So I'd go to the National Gallery and I'd just wander around seeing all this great art. And I remember that there was one room that I went to in the West Wing that had a Rembrandt in it. It was a portrait, a self-portrait. And it was one when he was very old. So at this point, as he told us, old, penniless, probably quite hungry while he was painting. I don't know where he got the paint or the canvas, but hey, he managed to make it work. And he had this sullen expression. He looked like he was full of regret and fatigue, but he was like reminiscing on his life. But it was really powerful, and I looked at it for a long time. And I think now that if the master portraitist himself had painted you, he would have eternalized your, oh boy, here it comes, sorry. He would have eternalized your endless joy, your passion, and your love for art in each and every one of your students. He would have seen your journey as an educator and as a friend to everyone who meets you. And most of all, he would have captured your radiant smile that lights up even your pitch black room. All of your students, or although your students at St. Andrews won't be blessed by your presence anymore, those of us who were will never forget you, and we wish you all the best in your retirement. Marsha.
Wow, thank you. Thank you, Quinn. That was beautiful. Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Emily.
All right, can you hear me?
Emily.
Hi, Miss Russell. It's so great to see you.
You too.
I took AP Art History with Miss Russell back in 2008, and Miss Russell, to this day, it's one of my favorite classes that I've ever taken, as so many people have already said, and it's continued to influence me more than maybe any other course. And there are really two ways that having you as a teacher has really continued to influence me in the dozen or so years since I left St. Andrews. And the first is that you just really transformed how I see and engage with art, as other people have spoken to. And I had the chance to visit Italy with my mom a few years ago, and it was so exciting to see all of the art and architecture that we had learned about in your class, and to be able to realize that this painting that we were looking at introduced this completely new way of representing buildings and bodies in three-dimensional space, and to be able to share that with my mom. And so I think just you've helped so many of us have much richer travel experiences and develop a love of museums that has stuck with us well beyond your class. Wonderful. Yeah. And then the second thing that I didn't realize at the time is that I learned so much from you about how to teach. And I'm about to start a position as a professor at a liberal arts college.
I love that.
In psychology, but a lot of the way that you teach, I think, translates across disciplines. And as I was on the job market this fall and I was writing my teaching statement, and I realized that my teaching philosophy is basically just to try to channel Miss Russell.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you really showed me the importance of just bringing energy and passion for what you're teaching into the classroom. And you're so masterful at helping us understand, as you did at the beginning of this call, helping us understand why the things we're studying mattered for understanding the world and who we are. And I suspect that I will be trying to channel you for the rest of my teaching career. And I know that a lot of other students who have become teachers are probably out there trying to do the same thing. So,
wow, thank you.
Yeah, here's to you. Thank you for all you've given to so many of us over the years.
Thank you.
Okay, next we'll hear from Daniel.
There we go. Hi, Ms. Russell. It's good to see you.
Hi, Daniel.
Well, I was your student, but also a member of your advisory. You know, many years ago. It feels forever ago, but at the same time, I can look back on those days in your classroom and feel like home. And I often brag and tout that the time I spent at St. Andrews was so much more meaningful and valuable than any other academic or certification program that I've gone through, because of that sense of home and community that is fostered at St. Andrews. And I think you were such a huge part of that, and the sense of cultural appreciation that you instill in every one of us that comes through your custody. There's not a place that I can go from Marfa to St. Petersburg where, I can't think of something that you've touched on personally, that's given me an ability to appreciate that part of the world that I'm in and the people that are living there with me. So thank you for that. And that's all.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Daniel.
Now we'll hear from Lacey.
Hello. It's been a very long time. Yeah, like so many have said before, it was just so easy to be enraptured in the Marsha Russell experience when we were with you. And that space of just being swept away into a passion for learning and other people and faraway places. And I think, like so many have noted as well, a place of being delighted in a way that invited us into delighting in others, and sometimes creating those openings for us to delight in ourselves, which isn't easy always in life normally, and especially when we're teenagers, because that's a delicate time. Yeah, so there won't ever really be enough words or the right words, but I think to me, there's no real better way to capture that than almost 20 years later, I get excited when I recognize art out in the wild and tell any unsuspecting nearby person what I know about it. And that I can still feel the way that it felt to be taught by you and to be loved by you, and what it felt like to be in the safe haven of your classroom. And I think that's something that I'll always carry with me. And I think everyone who's here that has been taught by you or just spent time with you will carry with them. Yeah, and I know that for the rest of my life, when I see a Monet as well, I don't remember all the songs anymore, but completely reliably, the Monet likes nature, Degas likes the dancers, Renoir likes girls, which you can never explain to anyone in a way that makes sense. Like, it's one of those things where you're like, no, it's really great, this thing, and it never works. So I'm very happy to learn that you have a YouTube channel, and hopeful that you will put those videos on there so that we can relive the glory and then show it to our partners and say, no, you don't, and they still won't understand. But yeah, so thank you.
Thank you, Lacey.
Hey, you're up, Lauren.
All right. I, like Quinn, wrote a bit of a script, so I wouldn't ramble, but the script might be rambling too. Marsha, a few days ago, I was staring out my office window at the upper school, thinking about all the things I wanted to include in my toast to you tonight. It's funny because my desk is now in a classroom turned shared communal languages teacher's office. That was recently my own Latin classroom these last few years, but that classroom is also the same classroom where I first met you as my 10th grade history teacher, 1002, in August of 2002. Do I have that math right?
One.
I think so. No, one. Oh, I'm even older. Great. In August of 2001, you were new to St. Andrews that year, though you were not new to teaching. I was not at all excited. I was not at all excited about having to take History 10, covering modern world history, as I was a self-proclaimed Latin nerd with a penchant for ancient history, but my tune changed pretty quickly with you as my teacher. I remember you playing Billy Joel's "We Didn't Start the Fire" at some point in those first few days of class to help our sophomoric, well, more like sophomoronic brains start to understand how one moment in history stems from what comes before and affects what comes after. Your 10th grade history class was the first time I'd studied anything past the year 1500 CE that I found even remotely interesting. And it's all due to the compelling, engaging, and joyous way that you taught the material. Actually, you taught the students first, and the material was simply a medium through which you connected with us. Before you were my teacher, I knew nothing about the subject of art history, which you masterfully employed to teach us about the history of humanity. And from the first slide of a painting that you showed, explaining how it illustrated the historical subject for that day's lesson, I was totally hooked. Art history became my second academic love, next to Latin, and they fit so well together. You taught us so well that years later, on a trip to Europe with Jessica Roper, she and I tag teamed guiding fellow travelers we met at our hostel through the Louvre in Paris. And I remember them asking, "How do you know all of this stuff?" And we just shrugged and said we'd had an amazing art history teacher in high school.
Oh.
It's very, very likely because of you, because of your example and inspiration, in addition to one other teacher who I'm sure you can guess, that I am a teacher now. You are passionate about your subject. You hold your students to high but reasonable standards, and you genuinely connect with your students. You don't hide your true self, and you make your classroom a space filled with joy and laughter. In the times I have considered switching careers, especially the many times during this very difficult year, I remember you and the very few teachers out there like you, and hold out hope that I can positively impact the students' outlook on learning and on life by just a fraction of the amount that you impacted me and my classmates. Marcia, for the last few years teaching Latin at the upper school, I have been privileged to call you a colleague. At faculty meetings, it was always a good meeting when I managed to find an open seat next to you if it wasn't already taken by Susan Kemner Reed. and then we come to this school year. What a school year to make your last. Surely the most unusual, most unpredictable, and isolating of school years possible for a teacher. Earlier this week, I was staring out my office window, as I mentioned before, and I saw you industriously moving a rolling crate of books and binders and folders along the walkway on the path from your current classroom past my office and to your car in the parking lot. It was a tough sight to see. I knew that the crate was toting the physical artifacts of so many cumulative years in the classroom, and I was impressed with all the school years in which you have trudged through all the grunt work of being a teacher. I turned back to my own endless grading and emails that always seem to stack up in the last few weeks of May each school year, wondering whether all this frustration and burnout was really worth it. A bit later, I saw you moving along that same path past my office window, your crate loaded with more classroom detritus. But I saw this time, it wasn't books and folders, but rather a pile of wrinkled, well-worn garments and other props, even a sword. The typical student or faculty member seeing that would probably have done a double take and wondered, what the heck is that teacher doing with a sword? But anyone who was taught by Marcia knows that this crate was part of the tableau vivant materials. All the memories of carefully crafting a living scene from a famous piece of art with my classmates amidst laughter came rushing back to me. I wondered for a moment if that was the very sword we used when we created Caravaggio's Judith beheading Holofernes. It hit me then, the emails, the grading, the frustrations, they're all worth it, as long as I'm helping to make the classroom a joyous space, just as you did for us. Thank you, Marcia. Sorry, I held it together. I hope you find many new amazing waterfalls in your newfound free time.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Right, Caroline.
Hi, Marcia.
Hi, Caroline.
So I also wrote something, and I like many people here, actually the last two speakers, I was
in Marcia's very first class at St. Andrews as a 10th grader, and then later as a senior in your art history class. And I have so much to echo what other people have said about the experience of being in your classroom and how much you made me feel like I mattered when I was 15 and how much that mattered to me. But I feel like people have already said that. So I wanted to talk a little about another experience that I share with a very select group of people here, I think, which is the experience of having you as a mentor in my teaching career. So like Lauren, I was lucky enough to be a colleague of Miss Russell's for 4 years at St. Andrews, but it's actually a moment before that that I want to talk about when I was just starting out teaching. I was 22 and I was fresh out of college and I was teaching senior English in the South Bronx, and I was in way over my head. I had no idea what I was doing, but I was in touch with Miss Russell. And she was kind enough to do things like let me come and sit in on her classroom when I was back in town in Austin over breaks. And I got to see the magic of her at work and marvel at it even more, because once I was a teacher, I realized how difficult it was to perform. She was also generous enough to let me glimpse behind the curtain and learn some of her tricks. So in my very, very first weeks of teaching in 2008, Marcia sent me an email full of all of her advice about how to be a good teacher. And this email, needless to say, is pure gold. And to this day, I treasure it as such. It's full of a lot of the things that people here tonight have mentioned, like seating arrangements and classroom discussions. So a lot of little things, but a lot of big things too. And in one paragraph, Marcia included what she called her greatest pearl of wisdom. And I want to read that to you now. So from the words of the legend herself. She said, "I know you already know this, but in case a reminder is helpful, keep in mind that all students, no matter what age, respond to authenticity. They crave teachers who see them as real people, and they do backflips for the ones whose interactions with them are based on sensitivity and respect. Remember to let them know, this is my single greatest pearl of wisdom. Let them know every single day that you like them, laugh with them, lift their spirits, sing with them." This paragraph gave me goosebumps when I first read it 13 years ago, because I immediately recognized it as the heart of what Marcia Russell is all about, and that's love. It is the great secret that makes her classroom the marvel that it is. She loves teaching and she loves her students, and she's not afraid to show them that, to have fun with them and to let them feel loved. That love is the foundation of everything else that follows. Marcia Russell knew that without it, none of the other incredible teaching and learning that everyone here has already described would be possible. And that knowledge is the gift that she passed on to me. So I've hung on to that email, Miss Russell, ever since I received it. I still read it to myself when I'm having a bad day. I have shared it generously, as I hope you would want me to. In my now 13 years of teaching, I've passed it on to countless new teachers, and I like to think that maybe they've passed it on in turn. And I get a kick out of thinking about this email and the philosophy behind it circulating out there to teachers and students that you haven't even met. I've tried to the best of my ability to build my own classrooms on a foundation of love, and I have no illusions about living up to the standard that you set. But to the extent that I've succeeded, it's because you showed me when I was 15 what that looked like and why it mattered. So thank you for the gift of that email and for everything that it represents, for so generously shining a light for future teachers to follow. And most of all, thank you for loving us, all of your former students, those who are here tonight and those who are not, for laughing with us, for singing with us, and for letting us know that you liked spending time with us. It was the most precious pearl, the greatest gift you could have given us. And as all the toasts here tonight attest, its value is not lost on us. We are forever grateful.
Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you, Caroline. Now we're going to have two speakers who began their St. Andrews journey with Marcia. First, I'm going to kick it to Veronica Putney.
You need to unmute, Miss Putney.
Thank you. Sorry. Hello, everybody. Sandia, I missed you. Marcia, I couldn't leave tonight without I may be the only person that actually has had 3 years of your classes. Marcia allowed me to take 10th grade history, the first, second, third year that she taught it, art history through art history and history. Then she allowed me to be in her AP art class. And later, a few years later, when they changed that to more of, instead of Western AP art, and it became more worldwide AP art, she let me take that class too. I want to show you my, my AP test readings. I mean, and I have 4 of these from the different from the different classes, including in some of the notes when I read them, as we were typing furiously, some of your sense of humor comes through my notes, when I just unconsciously type things that you're saying without really filtering, leaving it for later. I have learned, I thank you for allowing me to be there in the room with you and be one of your students, allowing me to take the Quizlets. I made her promise she would not write a progress report to my daughter, Ashley, no matter what. I enjoyed you letting me share about Easter Island and the Ere Opa Opa songs. I loved listening about the sea waves and sea current maps of the Polynesians. I'd love to, when you connected Picasso's, ideas from the very original 3D African sculptures, the readings you had us do. I have every reading. And when I travel, many times with, to Japan or to Europe or to South America, I take you with me. Even I go to San Antonio to the matinee and I go straight to Pointillism, and it's you. I've loved teaching with you all these years. You've been a strength and the students have loved you. So thank you so much. I'm restricted to a few words because Julia said we were out of time. So thank you, Marcia.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to teach beside you, and I loved having you as my student.
3 years in a row. Yeah.
And now, last but not least, we have Susan Kemner Reed.
Oh, Marcia, Marcia, Marcia. How beautiful. I can't remember who said that. Marcia. But anyway, last night I was composing this in my head and I couldn't sleep. And finally I fell asleep and I dreamed of teaching. And I have many anxiety dreams, losing kids at museums and across the world and things like that. But this one was a new one. In this particular dream, I was teaching scuba diving. Oh my God. So, I mean, I'm sure that's lovely, but what I always was passionate about was art. And I loved sharing that, those times with you. And your students have said so many lovely, lovely things about you. And in fact, so many things that I don't even know how to add to it. So I'm glad I didn't write it up because I would have, I'm just glad I didn't. But I did jot down just a few things and I was thinking about all the museums that we went to together. And the Fort Worth Art Museum trips in the fall and the Houston Museum trips in the spring and going to Los Angeles to visit the museums there together. And what a fabulous person to have along to look at the art with, because I was always looking at it in one way and you were looking at it in another way and we could share our thinking about what we were seeing. Oh, did you like that? Oh, not so much. How about this? Well, I don't know much about that. And then you would tell me more about it, or I would tell you more about something. And it was just such a beautiful exchange. And then we had the delight of sharing it with our students. And, you know, they all know how to go to art museums, Marcia. And they take their parents and they will take their children and they will know how to use that amazing resource because of you getting them so excited about this. And I'm pretty sure that you single-handedly have created all of the art historians who are now working in museums as museum curators. I'm pretty sure of this. I don't know how many of your students have gone on to teach art history or to be curators, but you had such a wonderful way of making art come alive. And I do remember sitting in your class, and I would not take your tests. Can't do that. Can't take a test. But I loved being in there and hearing how you saw things in a way that was often very different from the way I saw the art. And I loved that everybody could have their own view. So when I think about retiring, I guess what I want to say to you is this is a very interesting door to open to a whole nother way of thinking. And it has been for me this year. I'm pretty glad that I'm pretty glad I retired before this year. Oh my God. But you know, I first met you when you were teaching my son, Paul, over at the Liberal Arts Academy. And that was a million years ago, because he's 40 now. And he adored you, simply adored you. And I got an opportunity through teaching beside you and across the way from you to just be filled with your magical spirit. That's what it is. It's a magical spirit. You share so willingly all your gifts and knowledge, and I thank you for doing that. I thank you for filling the museums up with wonderful people who can teach about art, because that's an amazing thing. But this big adventure that you're going on now, it's very cool too. There aren't any progress reports, and there are no more tests, but there's a ton of challenges. And I think you'll really enjoy walking through that door. And I hope that we get a chance to walk through museums together again and really enjoy art. Not when we're racing around trying to find the kids. Like, where did he go? I told him to be here in 10 minutes. But we had so much fun doing that. And I'm so glad that St. Andrews allowed us to do that. Thank you, my friend. What a dear friend. You've supported me through this journey of mine too. And I'm so grateful to have your friendship and to be a colleague of yours and to know you. What a privilege. Thank you.
Thank you.
To the Queen.
Thank you, Susan. Julia, can I say one more thing before people go?
I think that's only fitting.
Well, on every Friday, let me make sure that I can see everybody. Let me put it back into gallery view. On every Friday of every year of my teaching, what I always said to my kids was, hey, Keaton, I just found you. What I always said was, have a good weekend, get caught up on your work, get some sleep, have a little bit of fun, but remember, I love you. And don't do anything I wouldn't do.
Yes, my
and
queen.
Your answer is?
Yes, my queen.
Yes, my queen.
Yes.
All right. I cannot express to you how wonderful, just what an incredible gift it is to have this time with you. So thank you for coming. Thank you for being open to the craziness of everything that has happened with this career of mine. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for being exactly and precisely who you are. I love you all. I'm not going to say goodbye.
See you later.
Thank you,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Russell.
Love you too, Miss Russell.
Thank you so
Love
much,
you.
Russell.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Russell.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Love you.
Thank you, Miss Russell.
Thank you,
Love
Miss
We
you.
Russell.
love you so much.
Love you so
Thank
much.
you,
Love
Ms. Russell.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Russell.
Marsha,
Thank you.
Nick and I love you so much, Marsha. So does
Love
our
you
whole family.
too. Love you.
Love you. All the best.
Thank you.
Truly a teacher's teacher. Always.
Thank you, Mercedes.
Thank you, Miss Russell.
Thank you. Virginia, I just spotted you. I think gosh, it's so wonderful to see everyone.
I know. Look at Lily and Emily and yes, everybody.
Sandia,
And
Peter,
Jen was somewhere.
Ashley. Oh, it's so, Natash, I'm so happy to see
Russell.
you. Neil, hi. Liz, there you are. Erica. Erica, it's the first time I've seen you since you graduated.
So long. It's been so long.
Yes.
Better late than never.
That's true. Laura, I'm so glad you came. Thank you for coming.
We love you, Miss Russell.
Love you too. I'm not going until y'all go.
Thank you so much.
Tell Marsha, give some congratulations.
Thank you. Awesome. I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah. And
Thank
also
you
bye,
for coming.
Susan. Bye, Matt.
And Marcia, I didn't mention your one and only chapel performance singing Ave Maria that time with the guitar. It was another beautiful memory from you that I carry.
Thank you. Maybe I'll come back and do that again someday. Got to get my calluses back though.
Yes.
There's my sky. I see my sky. Hi, baby girl. I'm gonna come walk you a lot.
Get to say hi to you, and she started wagging her tail. So, say hi. Say hi to Marsha. Hey, say hi to Marsha. Hi, baby girl.
Look at her.
Sky. Looking forward to all the walks.
Yes, it will happen a lot.
I'm excited. You're the only person I'd share my dog with.
That's my gain.
Well, we love you, Marsha. I'm excited
Thank you,
about
Heather.
your retirement for you, and I'm sad for us. So
thank you.
Love you.
Are you gonna, travel around, come visit Boston?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, that's where you are. Are you still at Harvard?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I will be there.
I'm a block away from the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum.
I will be there. I promise. Have a month in Iceland this summer. After that, I'll be there.
And hello, Miss Kemner Reed, and hello, Miss Geis, and Lauren and Caroline and Lacey. It's good to see people.
Miss
Russell?
I'm glad to see you.
Miss Russell.
Miss Russell, thank you
Yes.
so much.
Sorry.
Oh,
Catherine, I'm so glad to
Hi.
see you.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you so much. You were a great teacher, but you also were really important to Johnson. And I think that he would be here too. If he could
I
be.
love Johnson.
I know
Yes.
you did.
It
So
was so wonderful to see that picture of him.
So that you've touched so many people. And everybody has their list of favorite teachers, and you're my favorite teacher. And it always amazed me that after so many years of teaching, you still had the same amount of passion and the same love that you did 20 years ago, And then on top of that, you had been and seen all of these art pieces, and that was even more incredible because you actually knew what it was like to see them in person and not just teach off of a projection or a projector. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you.
Bye, Emily. Thank you. Thank you for speaking.
Of course. Love you.
Love you too.
Thank you, Miss Russell. I love you.
Thank you.
Bye, Marsha.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Hey, Marsha.
Thank you, y'all. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Robbie. Thanks for speaking. All of you who spoke. It was so beautiful and such a gift.
So great to see you and hear your voice. It's been a minute, and
Robbie, I still, Elaine and I both still have so much joy thinking about your touring us around around Shanghai. It was wonderful. Thank you so much.
love you.
Love you too. Y'all can go if you need to. Keaton, I love you, honey. Let me hear your voice.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I
said,
can.
Hi, Miss Russell. Hi, Miss
Hi,
Guys.
darling.
Oh, Miss Russell, it's been so long since I've seen you.
I know. I miss you, honey.
I miss you too. I miss all you guys.
Let's try to stay in touch, okay?
Okay. I got you. Congrats,
right.
though.
Thank
All
you.
right, bye-bye.
Love
Bye,
your
guys.
mom. Love your mom.
Yes, ma'am. I got you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
guys.
Thank you, Ms. Russell, for everything. It's so nice to see you after so long.
Sandia, you have no idea how much everything that you did for me has helped me in all of the years since you left. All of those Quizlets that you put together, all of the lecture notes I have shared with my other students, you have no idea how much of an impact you've had in helping the rest of my students. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Russell. You did so much for me, so that's the least I could do for you. I think about all of you very often and very fondly.
Good.
So I was very happy I could be here.
Me too.
And I miss all of you a lot. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye, honey.
Marsha, I'm just need to know when you're going to be at school so I can come hug you.
Okay, I'll be there for sure on Monday.
Okay, I'll come find you.
Yeah, we get to do this all over again on Monday, Lauren.
Oh yeah, okay. I'll see you soon. Hi,
So
Lacey. Great to see you.
Lacey, it is so wonderful to see you. I was so hoping you would be here. I'm delighted to see you. You just look wonderful.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm in Montreal, so come here.
I will. I love Montreal.
Yeah, I live here now.
Okay, I
Yeah.
will be there.
So, yeah.
Soon as we can get into Canada.
Yeah, yes, this is the thing. Yeah, but yeah, it's so good to see you. And yeah, I was so excited. I didn't even catch the email coming through, but Amelia Gerson forwarded it to me and was like, oh, maybe you saw this, but did you get this? And
was Amelia here? I didn't see her.
I'm not even sure if she was tonight.
Oh, but still, that means a lot to me.
Yeah, yeah. So I was really glad to.
Well, good.
know.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so good to see you. And I just really.
All right, I'm actually going to go now and drink this beer.
Marsha, thank you